Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Chandana Yashodanandana Braja Chandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद् अभय शरणारविंद भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtya Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatir Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 9. Appearance of Demon Vratrasura. Text number 1. Shri Shuka Uvacha Tasyasan Vishwarupasya Shriramsi Trinibharata Somapitham Surapitham Annadam iti Shushruma. Shri Shuka Uvacha Tasyasan Vishwarupasya Shriramsi Trinibharata Somapitham Surapitham Annadam iti Shushruma. Shri Shuka Uvacha Tasyasan Vishwarupasya Shriramsi Trinibharata Somapitham Surapitham Annādam iti Shuśruma.
Shri Shukra Uvacha Tasyasan Vishwarupasya Shriram Shri Bharata Somapītam Surapītam Annādam iti Shuśruma. Shri Shukra Uvacha Tasyasan Vishwarupasya Shriram Shri Bharata Somapītam Surapītam Annādam iti Shuśruma.
बोलिए।
Shri Shukra Uvacha Tasyasan Vishwarupasya Shriram Shri Bharata Somapītam Surapītam Annādam iti Shuśruma.
Shri Shukra Uvacha. Shri Sukadeva Goswami said, Tasya, of him, Asan, there were, Vishwarupasya, of Vishwarup, the priest of the demigods, Shiramsi, heads, Trini, three, Bharata, O Maharaj Parikshit, Somapitham, used for drinking the beverage Soma, Surapitham, used for drinking wine, Anna Adam, used for eating, Iti, thus, Sushrumu, I have heard from by the Parampara system. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Shri Shukadeva Goswami continued, Vishwarup, who was engaged as the priest of the demigods, had three heads. He used one to drink the beverage Somarasa, another to drink the wine, and the third to eat food. O King Parikshit, thus I have heard from authorities. Purport. One cannot directly perceive the kingdom of heaven, its king and other inhabitants, or how they perform their various engagements, for no one can go to the heavenly planets. Although modern scientists have invented many powerful space vehicles, they cannot even go to the moon, not to speak of other planets. By direct experience, one cannot learn anything beyond the range of human perception. One must hear from authorities. Therefore, Shukadeva Goswami, a great personality, says, what I am describing to you, O King, is what I have heard from authoritative sources. This is the Vedic system. The Vedic knowledge is called Shruti because it must be received by being heard from authorities. It is beyond the realm of our false experimental knowledge. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Ena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Ena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Sri Guru Shri Utaha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsya Namo Vishnupadaya Krishnapristhaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaurati Shri Namah He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhava Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Nilachala Nivasaya Nityaya Paramatmane Balabhadra Subhadrabhyam Jagannatha Vite Namah Vancha Kalpataru Vesya Kripa Sindhu Prevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Welcome everyone. Hare Krishna. So we are reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 9, text number 1. Shri Shukadeva Goswami continued, Vishwarupa, who was engaged as the priest of demigods, had 3 heads. He used to drink one and drink the beverage, Somarasa. He used one to drink the beverage Somarasa, another to drink wine, and third to eat food. O King Parikshit, thus I have heard from authorities. So somebody is having 3 heads. We don't see on this earth planet. Creation of the Lord is very vast. From sitting here, we can only know about the earth, little bit about space. While the universal dimensions which are given in the Vedic literatures, if you see, 5 billion miles inner diameter. 5 billion means almost 500 crores. Billion means 100 crores. 100 crores. So 5 billion means 500 crores miles. How much we can go with our satellites and space? They claim that they have gone 3 lakhs, something like that, kilometers. So much of efforts. 3 lakhs is a very small amount, small distance in comparing the 5 billion miles to go to the inner wall of the universe. And there are 7 layers around the universe. Each layer is 10 times than the previous. The first layer is 10 times of the inner space. That means 50 billion, something like that. Like that, universe is. So there are 7 layers: earth layer, fire layer, air layer, like that. So for us, it's very, very difficult to even imagine. You only see the unlimited sky. Just like ant, small ant crawling here. Whole life she may be spending here around. She may not never go outside his compound also. Now if you tell the land about the earth planet, different countries and different people living there. Jai Shri Shri Jagannath Mandir Sangam. He said, but is it possible to make and perceive this earth planet? The ant mostly goes in two dimensions only. You hardly see the up and down. Straight, right, left, right. The soul sitting in the ant body cannot understand what is happening on the earth planet, what we can perceive. Because of our advanced intelligence and the body given appropriate, we can perceive things happening. How much ant can perceive how this country of India is running? Prime Minister, Chief Minister, the different ministries. Not possible. Only when the ant, soul in the ant body, it evolves in a consciousness and come to the human body, then he will be able to perceive things. If the ant body try to perceive something, not possible. Similarly, with our human body, to perceive the universe is very difficult. But if we get demigod body, for them, they can travel very easily, very fast. Like we can travel now on the earth planet. The ant cannot travel like that. Similarly, for us, it's very mind-boggling when we hear 5 billion miles. For them, it's not a big distance. They can have different technologies to travel. So they also have airplanes. You can see in Bhagavatam many places demigods traveling in airplanes, and those airplanes are very sophisticated. They are not like our airplanes. They run with different technology. Subtle technologies. Even the bodies also of the demigods are not like our body. They have different composure in the material. They are also material bodies, but not like what we have earthly bodies. So if we didn't have something, like suppose we didn't have the ears, probably we never would have understood what sound is. Just like the bat doesn't have eyes, but it has a very powerful ear. So the bat throughout his life cannot understand what is the meaning of vision or vision. He also sees through the ear. He can understand some objectives there by sending some ultrasonic waves. You can see bat sometimes comes in the room and it moves so fast but doesn't hit anywhere. We have experienced in our upper hall there, sometimes small bat enter inside and it's moving so many things. Didn't hit anything. Finding out the way to go out. We opened the windows and doors, then it went out after some time. So without eyes, it has a better sort of a vision, but based on the hearing, the sound which is sending, it reflects back, and then you can understand some objectives there. But as far as the vision, that there are human beings and there are, everything is for him, it's like some obstacles coming on the way. They cannot understand the human being as a form, eyes, probably. All these things they cannot pursue at all in life. That doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Something cannot be pursued, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So we have been given senses, and because of the senses we are able to pursue certain things. But there are things which are beyond sense perception. Even you can see, our senses cannot perceive, some of the senses cannot perceive some things. Like the earth element can be perceived with all our 5 senses. We can touch, we can see, we can hear, we can smell, we can taste. The earth element can be perceived with all the 5 senses. But then the next element is water. Water can be perceived with only 4 senses. You can see the water, we can hear the water sound, we can taste the water, and we can, what else? Seeing, hearing, tasting, and touch also water. But water doesn't have smell. So if you try to understand water with the smell, you will not get any smell from the water. Pure water. We say pure water also has a taste, because they are saying that there is no taste. But now they have understood. In scientific research, they have pure water also has taste. As Krishna already says in Bhagavad Gita, Rasavamam Sukhamte. So, next element, fire, which you cannot perceive with your two senses. What is cannot perceive? Which senses you cannot perceive the fire element? You can perceive some sound coming, fire sound. Smell.
Not present.
Taste is not there. So taste and smell was water doesn't have smell, so fire also. Next element now. So next to the fire is what element? Air. So air you cannot perceive with how many senses? Air doesn't have taste. Air doesn't have smell, form, scene, whichever. So only sense of touch can perceive the air. And then the ether. The air can be also perceived with the sound. Sound is there, right? Air moving sound there. So next element you cannot perceive with the touch also. Ether. They say, according to the Vedic understanding, the ether has a sound element connected to the ether. Modern man think ether means space, or whatever the conceptions. So Vedas say that the space also is element. It is not absence of everything. It's not a vacuum. In vacuum we take out the air also, just like there is water in the glass. And if you take the water out, and what happens? The glass is immediately filled with air. If you take air out, the glass is immediately filled with the space. Space is also another element. You can take out the air from something, make it as a vacuum. So, Bhumi Rapo Nalavayu, come. Krishna says that come means it's also material energy, which cannot be perceived only by sound. Ear can perceive this. Shabda K Puruksham, Shabda K, sound and the space or the ether, they're connected. But in modern times they say if you create a vacuum you cannot hear. But what this Vedas talk about is different. There are different sounds also. Sounds which can be heard, cannot be heard. Even this audible range and beyond audible range also. Ultrasonic waves. So then there comes a mind. So mind, all these five senses cannot perceive the mind. You cannot see the mind, you cannot hear the mind, you cannot taste the mind, you cannot touch the mind, you cannot smell the mind. And because the modern man depends on only five senses to understand everything, our scientific knowledge is based on only senses, what senses can perceive. Even though they are using instruments, but the instruments also are using senses to watch something or perceive something. So modern man cannot understand mind also. They think mind is brain. Now recently the research done and the NCRT books are talking mind is not brain. They have performed some experiments to understand what the mind is different from the brain. Still they cannot pursue the mind much. That's why the psychologists and psychiatrists also they just try to figure out help people, but they also don't know the vastness and the complexity of the mind. Just like somebody has a contagious disease, if you closely associate him, like COVID person, you can also get COVID, or TB you can get through his sputum, or somewhere some disease you can get through the air also, contagious. So psychologists don't understand that if you are associating with a person having mental problems, that also affects their mind, especially through conversation. Because they have to hear a lot of mental problems on people for which they are paid, psychologists. So statistics show that in American proper times, Prabhu is mentioning in one lecture, every third person has to go to psychiatrist in America. Those times, and I don't know what is the situation. And statistics also shows that the suicide rate also is quite high among the psychiatrists. Because they are constantly associating with the people who want to commit suicide, mental problems, people, stressed people. And they get all those negative impressions by hearing in their minds. And sometimes many psychiatrists or psychologists have to go to another psychiatrist to dump their mind problems. So mind is also very powerful. It's like a master sense. According to Bhagavad Gita, it's manashashtani indriyani prakriti-sthani karshati. It is invisible, but it is controlling all the senses. You see this Upanishad, Katha Upanishad, that analogy. Katha Upanishad, the 5 horses and the chariot driver. Chariot driver is buddhi, and the lenses are the mind. Similarly, the senses, 5 senses are 5 horses, like the lens is mind, and there is a buddhi, which is more subtler than the mind. Buddhi is not some information processing ability. Modern mind thinks like that. Buddhi is much deeper than that. It's much subtler. Somebody can have a very powerful brain, memorizing all these things. But buddhi is something different than that. It's subtle than that. The mind is a storehouse of all different thoughts, previous experiences, unfulfilled desires. While the brain also is a storage element, but brain is very small in comparison to the mind. Mind is very vast, big, like ocean. The subtler is more powerful because, and the mind carry forwards to the next life. Mind, as long as we are in the material world, mind remains with us. So previous lives, so many impressions, thoughts, ideas, conceptions, or desires are there stored in the mind. And mind is the one which decides our next body, what kind of gross body we are going to get. So this subtleties of the mind and intelligence. When the mind is corrupt, then it overthrows the intelligence. Buddhi nashata, pranashyati, said. Buddhi nash. It destroys the intelligence, or it makes the intelligence weak. The mind is corrupt with these selfish desires like lust, greed, envy. So this all can be perceived by a person who is practicing spiritual life. This yogic process is to And then the subtler than the buddhi is also the ego, and then subtler than that is soul. Soul is subtler than all these elements of mind, intelligence, ego. If the soul is awakened, enlightened, self-realization happens, then you can see all these elements very clearly, different. If the soul thinks I am body, consciousness is degraded, bodily consciousness. The soul is identifying everything in terms of only gross things. And you forget its ability as a spirit soul, Sachidananda. And his consciousness is fully absorbed in his body and thinks in this world. Then it's very difficult to perceive the mind and buddhi, intelligence, and ego. Only one sees everything in terms of gross matter, body. I am the person, his gross body. And the mind and intelligence, he thinks something else like brain or whatever. I am. That's part of the gross body. And whatever dictation mind is giving, one is just executing those things. Soul has become slave of mind and senses. So one's ability is forgotten. Just like the mind becomes powerful, it overpowers buddhi, and it also overpowers the soul. Correct, right? Or this body also is demanding so many things which makes us serve this body. Just like you sometimes get some car, very costly car, thinking that I'll enjoy this car. But then you have to pay so much maintenance for that car. Then you have to pay the tax, road tax, and so many other papers, so much money on it. So it demands so much of your energy and so much of your time to maintain this car. But people are very much car conscious also. Which car one is moving? Status symbol. I heard this, many of these faculties in the institution. Just for status symbol, they purchase car. Every year, some people purchase new cars, every couple of years. And they hardly use the car. Because their workplace is walking distance from their homes. In 10 minutes, 5 minutes they walk, they can reach to it. But then they have to show that I am going in car. So they take out the car from their parking place because they don't have much experience of driving. Oftentimes they hit somewhere. And then they take the car, just 2 minutes they reach to the place, then they have to again find out place for parking it. So they may spend half an hour for that. But walking it will take 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So like that, when we identify ourselves with something matter, the soul forgets his own abilities. He can walk down, but no. We have to go in the car. So if you are attached to something material, you can see you forget our abilities. Now the mobiles has come. People can't even remember small things. Everything they want to put in mobile. Previously people would remember so many things. You don't have to even write down. But now their memory or remembering power is not utilized. Dependence on mobiles. So more we identify with matter, the matter actually consumes so much of energy. This body is like that. So much energy we are consuming. Bodily maintenance. You have to eat food, you have to clear stomach, you have to bathe, so much clothes. Spiritual body doesn't need anything kind of things. It's always youthful, joyful. You have to deal with mind and senses, demands. So instead of becoming free, soul is By nature, Krishna has given freedom. You can travel anywhere in the creation of God within seconds. The Prabhupada says, soul can travel within seconds to back to the spiritual world. So fast. Like more than speed of light. But we are so much stuck up in this material body, gross body. We are not able to move from one place to another also. Narad Muni can travel, you can see Narad Muni immediately reaches from one place to another. So fast. Prabhupada said, transcendental spaceman. He can travel not only one universe to another universe, he can go to Vaikuntha. Right? Narad Muni find in so many places in Puranas. Krishna's time, Lord Rama's time, so many, everywhere you find now. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, so many places in Bhagavatam, Narad Muni's glories are spoken. So Srila Prabhupada says, Narad Muni has such freedom. He can travel anywhere in the creation of God. But because we are stuck up into this material body, Kali Yuga bodies, our span of our freedom is so limited. Narad Muni can go to Vaikuntha, he can go to heavens, he can see everything by going there. With this material human gross body, you cannot go to the heaven. Distances are so high. And not only that, you will not be allowed also. Simple logic that you cannot be allowed even in America if you want to go. You cannot take a car and go and enter America. Immediately arrested. So these people are trying to go to the heavenly planets like moon with their spaceship. Moon is actually heavenly planet. Soma. Soma means the demigod of the moon planet. So this Vishwarup used to drink Somaras. That's considered very, very tasty beverage, like nectar, which is demigods drink that. So the Vedas always say that moon is a heavenly planet, and you can go heaven only by performing pious activities. Some pious activities have to be there. You cannot enter without that. You cannot just like, unless you get a visa, you cannot go in America. Even if you have private chartered flight, you will not be allowed to enter there. So they may go somewhere in the space from here, something like moon, but not actual moon of heavenly planet. There are so many invisible planets up there. And Rahu is an invisible planet. You cannot see from here. So human body has limitations to perceive things, just like ant body has limitations. But soul in a full-fledged spiritual body, Krishna gives access to entire creation. One can travel, see. But still, soul is very small, insignificant, small. Limitations are there, but by Krishna's arrangement, one can get freedom. It's a Narad Muni getting freedom, travel all over the creation. So now, modern man, because of too much dependence on the senses, forgetting knowledge, is unable to understand spiritual subject matters. Srila Prabhupada says three things. Imperfect senses, or too much dependence on forgetting knowledge on the senses, which are imperfect. And what is the second one? In Kunti's book, Prabhu says that stubborn obstinacy resulting from various sinful activities. Stubbornness. Whatever I think is right, whatever we are saying is right. So much of faith in the science. That is a stubbornness. Whatever science is able to see, perceive, that is only truth existing. Beyond that, nothing exists. That's what it is. Just like 120 years back around, science was thinking plants don't have lives. Whatever experiments they were performing, seeing, it was not fitting into their window or their perceiving plant as a living being. They were thinking just like in the chemistry also sometimes the crystal can grow. Some crystals have a growth. Small plants also are growing like that. It doesn't have life. Till the time the Jagdishchandra Bose in 1901 or 1900, he proved by performing some experiment. The plants also have lives. So he performed some experiments again based on some perception through the senses. So previously they were not able to perceive plants have lives. After performing experiment they could understand. So now they want to understand everything like this through experimental knowledge, which is based on sense perception. So some of the things can never be perceived. You cannot perceive mind. You cannot perceive intelligence. You cannot perceive soul with this experimental knowledge. However, you can perceive some effects, like there are past life memories people are having. As I said that some time back, our one devotee came and told me 3-4 days back that her grandson and granddaughter remembering past life suddenly. This 3-4-year-old child, she speaks very nice fluent Bengali. So she asked her, and how do you speak so nice Bengali? Always 50% in Bengal, they stay in the, from her birth they are staying always outside Bengal. Her mother is Bengali, but father is not Bengali. And she asked, how can you speak so nicely Bengali? Because around you, they stay in Delhi. Nobody around is speaking Bengali, they speak Hindi. And her spontaneous immediate reply was, in my in-laws' house, everybody is Bengali. He spoke in Bengali that Amar Sasurwadi, Sabi to Bengali ache. Sabai to Bengali ache. And Amar ek me ache. I have one daughter also. We had government entities also. So we heard that everybody was shocked, fearful. What is happening? What is happening? Small child, 4-year-old child is talking like this. So there are many such cases. Not 1, 2 like this. There are thousands of cases are there like people remember their past lives. One IIT professor was telling from the geology department. He said, when I was a small child, till my 8th or 9th standard or year, I don't remember, I was really clearly remembering my previous life. I used to tell my mother that you are not my mother, father also. And my brother also was remembering his previous life. She has been HOD, he has been on a very big post, now is retired. But he said, I firmly believe that because I was remembering my previous life. And after some time, because of our surroundings, we forget the details. So this E.N. Stevenson has more than 2,000 cases people remembering past lives. Now the question comes, the brain is a memory storage. How the person can remember previous life? Scriptures already tell that the brain is not only storing material. Mind is storing material, memory and everything. Mind also, which carry forward to next life. So by seeing such example, but science doesn't believe people's experiences because their instrument cannot see that. Nowadays they started accepting, it's called first person's experience. Hearing from the person has certain experiences, collecting data. Some of the field of science is now accepting this kind of things. This E.N. Stevenson also is a psychiatry department professor. which he studied with proper investigation. He had more than 2,000 cases of people remembering their past life. So from there you can understand. By seeing something you can understand. That person is able to remember past life and their body is already finished. How one can remember? That means there is something different from the body, which exists in the body, which goes to the next body. So, or the mind, subtle body, which science is not able to perceive still. And they don't want to believe also that people remember their past lives. In some occasions, there are so clearly people have told all the details, all children, or people they are remembering their past lives. That's what this Ian Stevenson has done investigation of every case thoroughly. And when it was properly justified, then only he has added it to his research work. So if we too much depend on this experimental knowledge or scientific knowledge, we say, and beyond that nothing exists, and we cannot understand what spiritual subject matters are. And if you tell them, okay, you just accept as axioms what Vedas are saying. Like in science also you have so many axioms. You believe. Like I did my electronics telecommunication engineering, but I never saw electron in my life. I don't think they have seen anybody has seen electron related. You can see the effect of electron. You have not seen electron. It's only the model they have said that okay, electron exists like this. Because it is giving answers to so many questions, assuming that model of electron. A model of atom, nucleus and electrons revolving around that. But nobody has seen electron. So similarly, the Vedas also say that in the beginning, if you are not able to understand, believe, you accept it. But you can perceive all these things provided you follow the purificatory process. Purification process. Purify your mind from all envy, lust, greed, pride, illusion, anger by meditation or by chanting the holy name of the Lord. Then you will perceive things. They don't want to do that. No, we are not sentimental people. We don't want to follow. And you can see how much egoistic fights they have among themselves, all these so-called scientist people. So much of cheating goes on. I talk to so many professors and PhDs. They're so fearful that if their scientific research work somebody else knows, they can steal it. And they have stolen also. This famous Jagdish Bose, he did the research work of Jagdish Bose, the radio waves, and then he just spoke to his students. SN Bose, radio waves, Satyendra Bose, SN Bose. So he just spoke to his students, and it was leaked out. And then Marconi, he published a paper before him. And because Britishers were ruling, they took his side naturally and gave him the credit. But actually the whole research work was done by S.N. Bose. So this scientific circle will find people fighting for egos. And see not only here IIT, other IITs or other institutes also. Complaints are there. In Calcutta also. One devotee was doing PhD and then his guide and other professors, they had some internal tussle. And because of the fight between them, all the students' PhD was delayed by 1 year. Because of the fight. So these people never want to purify their minds out of ego, false ego, or the envy, greed, lust. So much of scientific research is not shown to the public in order to get fundings like this archaeological survey reports were not published, which were against Darwin theory. And so many people already have done PhD on it. So many people already have done jobs on it. So many of the research work which was against Darwin theory was not shown to the public. It was kept hidden. So all such people, they claim that they know everything and God doesn't exist, soul doesn't exist. And because they're too much dependent on their senses, everything, and also stubborn obstinacy. And whatever we know, everything should be falling in a scientific, methodology. While the Vedas says, okay, you accept some axioms, you follow this process. That we don't want to do it. One of the devotee faculty was telling some time back, they were had some Vishwakarma puja department, in his department in IIT. So they had celebrated Vishwakarma puja. And all the other professors and faculties were discussing whether God exists or not after that. And somebody was saying, actually I don't think God exists. But so many people, previously some sages, some old people have written down all these books to create fear among the people that God is there, so that people can be morally living properly and there can be peace in society. So like that, there are different viewpoints they were discussing. And finally they concluded that actually God doesn't exist, but it is good to have this Vishwakarma puja and all this. So that it can create some peace in the society. So this devotee was sitting there and he said, how can you conclude like this by your discussion here? See, anything scientific you conclude based on first you do some research, collect some data, and here you are simply sitting down and discussing while eating the food that God doesn't exist. So don't you think that we should go and study some spiritual knowledge and practice something in our lives, at least for 4 or 5 years? Here, when you are coming in the scientific, because you do so much time, 20 years studying. So don't you think that you have to go and study from some authorized people about spiritual life and practice in your life? At least 5 years. Everybody was silent. Okay, not 5 years, at least 2 years. Again, at least 1 year. Nobody said yes for it. So they don't want to follow the purificatory process of purifying their mind. And Vedas very much assure that if you purify your mind, you will be given access to the higher realm. Make your mind clean with envy, greed, lust, pride, illusion, anger. You can perceive Paramatma in the heart immediately. Jitatmana prashantasya Paramatma samahit. See, forget about purifying. They are adding more envy, greed by the culture what they are living. So much of ego fights and so much of competitive environment they are creating. So, no question of purifying, but they are putrefying the minds by the way they are living. And then they say God doesn't exist, and soul doesn't exist. We don't believe this. Ian Stevenson's research. Because we can't see with our experiments, these instruments. So that's why Vedas say that one has to become humble and accept the direction of the Vedas. Everything will be revelation. You can see God. Prabhu said by this process you can perceive God in your life. Even without seeing Him, you can perceive also. First, you chant the holy name of the Lord, mind will get purified and you can get taste for the holy name. Why you believe so much in your senses of seeing God? You can chant His name and you can taste the holy name. You can be happy. This Rupa Goswami says that I want to have millions of tongues when I chant Krishna's name. Because his mind is purified, he said, completely. He can perceive the holy name as the most tasty thing. And he also says, just like jaundiced person cannot experience the taste of the sugar candy, the conditioned soul, because of his polluted mind, cannot perceive the holy name's taste. Mind needs to be purified. And Krishna says, Jitatmana prashantasya paramatma samaya. You conquer your mind, immediately Paramatma can be perceived in the heart. Who is there in everybody's heart? Paramatma. So they don't want to follow any purification process, they just want to sit down. Prabhupada said, armchair speculators. Keep on speculating things while having cigarette in the hand and wine. God doesn't exist. Dr. Frog, Prabhupada said, they want to sit down in the limited space, in the wind, well. If somebody is saying, I can take you to the Pacific Ocean. No, you show me here only Pacific Ocean. And I don't think Pacific Ocean exists. And because throughout life they want to be in Kupamanduk. What the Kupamanduk means the well and the frog. Frog living in a well. Kupamanduk Nyaya. From there Prabhupada has taken this Dr. Frog. For him the Kupa is everything, well is everything. Modern scientists say only life exists only on this planet, nowhere else. Because they don't have access to higher thing. Exactly, plants don't have life, sometimes they will say. Now they got to know through their experiments, but everything cannot be perceived through their experiments. They have to understand that they need to elevate their consciousness, purify their mind, and when they will be given access, higher access to the higher existence, heavens, and this we need to hear from the right authorities, then you can understand things. So that's a Vedic way of learning is you accept in parampara things. Something you may not understand, something you may not perceive immediately. But because the authorities are speaking, we believe them. Great authorities who have seen the truth. Patyakshitita jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. Tattvadarshina means those who have seen the truth. So many great saintly people who were completely free from false ego, envy, lust, greed. These people have spoken their experiences about God. Why they will want to cheat? We don't find they any time cheating anybody in their lives. We don't believe them. Great saintly people. We believe these people who are fighting with him, false ego and cheating each other. Some authority you accept. Darwin people believe 2 million years back evolution started. Who has seen 2 million years back? He was not there during that. But he presented a word juggler in such a way, so-called scientific way, and we believed him. And although there were evidence is completely against him, still so many people wanted to hide it. Because they wanted funding. They wanted to get they didn't want to lose their fame of having somebody has done PhD on Darwin theory. Now we say Darwin theory is bogus. Gone or PhD is. So they wanted to protect it. Goes on like that, scientific research. So many bogus papers are published. So much false data is presented. All of us have experienced how the people perform experiments in the laboratory, how much adjustment they do during exams. And it's considered normal, People do that. Adjusting the graphs, So we have a choice whether we want to believe such authorities or we want to believe the great saintly personalities who are pure-hearted souls. We want to believe Krishna, we want to believe Brahma. These people who say are very scientific, they also are accepting some authorities. They have their authorities in the scientific circle. So here Srila Prabhupada is saying that this Vedic way of learning is what I am describing to you, O King, what I have heard from the authoritative sources. The Vedic knowledge is called Shruti because it must be received by being heard from the authorities. It is beyond the realm of our false experimental knowledge. False experimental knowledge. Experimental knowledge has limitations and it cannot help to understand the higher subject matters, spiritual subject matters. What to speak of spiritual, we cannot understand our mind also. Mind, intelligence, space. Beyond that is soul. How will they, when they will understand soul? Prabhupada went to this MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Yeah, this, where is the technology talking about mind? You don't know anything about mind also. You have so many departments of knowledge, everything you talk about gross matter. You don't have any department talking about mind technology. What to speak of spiritual technology? Because you don't have proper knowledge about mind also. Mind means getting his brain. So that's why you find in modern time when people are going away from their real nature of being spirit soul and they are going away from God, so much are they caught up with this mind. Mental problems are increasing so much. Practice spiritual life, all these problems will naturally be gone. Spiritual life will cleanse the mind. And then we can perceive the higher truths. You can perceive mind, intelligence, soul, everything that we perceive. Atma Sakshatkar, God. God realizations, next stages. First is self-realization as Atma. So this is science. Krishna speaks science. Science about your own body or your own self. Understanding that I am not this material gross body, I am not this mind, not intelligence. I am a spirit soul, eternal living being. Because of identification of matter, we are suffering so much. So many troubled situations we are brought in our lives. If a person spends time sincerely for making spiritual advancement, one can overcome all the problems in life. That's what Gita shows. Okay, any questions, comments?
Here it is mentioned there is Vishnu is taking wine. I mean that he is a Brahmana. So, and he's taking, so this is the same kind of wine that the materialistic people here is a different kind.
Actually, he was born to a demigod, Twashta, but his mother was coming from the Asura's lineage, association of Asuras. She had Asuric nature. So because of that, he was influenced by that. So although he was a Brahmana, so he was also taking the wine because of that connection. So he had 3 heads, one was drinking the wine. Certainly it will be different wine than what you find is people making in here, but it's wine. So this is what explanation I understand. He had father demigod, mother from Asura side. So he had taste for both. Small miles of wine.
But he is considered as a Brahmana, that is my point.
And Brahmanas also are different levels of gradations. Some of the Brahmins who are going on this Brahmana in the sense that because he is born to the Twashtan, he also had some Brahmanical qualities. So it is considered that he was a very exalted personality. not ordinary person. Usually Brahmana you don't find doing that, but he was doing that. Exceptional cases are there because he had 3 heads. See, there are Brahmanas also, there are different grades, there are who are very advanced Brahmanas and those who are in the beginning stage, like that. So, depending on their consciousness, they may accept certain kind of things. The beginning, they are called viparas. What do you call this? Veda Patat Bhavet Vipara, Brahma Janati Brahman, Samskarat Bhavet Dvija. So Samskarat are performed and they are called Dvija. Then they study scriptures properly, they are called viparas. And then actually when they know Brahman, they are called Brahmanas. And there are some Brahma Rakshasas also out there. Brahmana ghost. So you can say how Brahmana can become a ghost. So they have practiced Brahmanical things, but later on they misuse those powers because of their polluted mind. So they have Brahmanical powers because of their austerities or whatever, but now because of their degraded mind, they may not act as a Brahmanas, but still they are called like Brahma Rakshasas. So that is what we can understand like that. But here Vishwarupa was not like that. But because he has connection with his mother's side, he was also accepting wine. Okay. Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Grantha Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai.